Gibbes, and welcome to Oral Gibbes Live. And this evening I have a very interesting team on the program this evening. I have Mrs. Claire Javois. She's a candidate for deputy. How are you doing?
Fine. Good evening to the listeners out there.
We're also on television. And
the viewers.
Thank you. And so you are a candidate for deputy, and you're on the Team Gibbes. So when elected, you will be replacing him in Paris?
I would first like to present myself, Claire Javois, so candidate to deputy. I'm 59 years old, and work at a big hotel, and I'm the assistant general manager. My substitute is Micheline Jacques, and she is from St. Bart's. To answer the question, yes, I would be taking off when elected, replacing the deputy Gibbes in Parliament.
All right. And we also have with us another person, he's no stranger. Says Mr. Viotty. How are you doing, sir?
Well, good evening. Thanks for being on the program. It's a great pleasure.
And you're a spokesman for the party?
Well, I am playing the role of spokesman for the party. When speaking about the party, we're talking about the team Gibbes, Daniel Gibbes. It's the team that recently challenged the elections in Marigot for the presidency of the collectivity, which we have won. And today we are backing Claire Javois, here present, as candidate for deputy. She not only has the backing and the blessing of Team Gibbes, she's also backed by the mayor of the president of St. Bart's, Bruno Magra, and she is also part of the party which Deputy Gibbes was part of, which is the Les Républicains. That was the majority leading party in France. So she is also endorsed, along with St. Martin and St. Bart's, by a big national party.
Okay. So it's quite interesting because there have been so many elections for the past month or two in the French Republic, right? Yeah. So for us here on the Dutch side, it's a little confusing, but the election for deputy, right? And I know when Mr. Gibbes was here as member of parliament, we used to refer to him as a member of parliament and not deputy. So I'm a little confused, and maybe you can help us as to what is the correct term, if we were using the correct term.
Okay. I'll give a technical explanation as party spokesman. In the French system, you have three powers. The executive, which is the president of the republic, and his government, prime minister and ministers. You have the legislative power, which is the parliament, referred as the parliament. The parliament is composed of the chamber of deputies and the senate. So those two make the parliament. And the third is the jurisdictional part, which is the justice, the prison, and so on. Here we are called to renew one member of part of the parliament, not the senate. This is the National Assembly. And there is where the deputies sit. In the setting of France, we are called to renew 577 deputies, of which St. Martin and St. Bart's is represented by a deputy. That is what we obtained when we were transferred in the new setting of Article 74 setting. So we have to get with someone who is going to be able to represent St. Martin and St. Bart's in this new setting, and who is going to carry out, because there again it's important that we know the role that the deputy is going to play. The deputy is not going to sit and represent St. Martin, but the deputy is going to be the link between St. Martin, St. Bart's, and Parliament in France. I'll give a little further on the real details of how it works.
All right. So it's quite Ms. Javois, you said earlier about I want to go back because I want to ask a little about yourself so we can get to know who you are. You said you worked in the hotel industry?
Yes, I've been working in the hotel industry now for the past 37 years, and the hotel where I am actually for the past 31 years.
Okay, so this would be your first time in a government position?
No, I was elected in 2007 when the new collectivity was put in place as the vice president in charge of the social affairs.
Okay, so you're not new to politics.
No.
Okay, all right. So you also mentioned another name when you introduced that you're running.
So that is my substitute because we are running. We have two-person running, myself and Micheline Jacques, and she is from St. Bart's.
Oh, okay.
So being a candidate representing the two territories, which is St. Martin and St. Bart's, it is more than important that we have someone from St. Bart's to represent St. Bart's and someone from St. Martin. So then she would be able to work on all the files pertaining to St. Bart's, work together along with me, and I would be able to concentrate on the files of St. Martin. But then we will get together and work on them.
So what are the problems that you see that St. Martin need to let others know about, and that you think is so important that you need to be elected to represent St. Martin in the Parliament in France?
Well, the role of the deputy is that the first role of the deputy is that the deputy votes, all the laws and the modification of laws for the nation. However, having two entities, St. Martin and St. Bart's, being two new collectivities, I normally, when elected, would serve as a relay between Parliament and the collectivities in order to take the files that they need to have to defend up to Parliament. For St. Martin, for example, we have the new organic law, and we know that there are certain things that need to be changed and adapted in order to permit the people that are in place, which is the President Daniel Gibbes and his team, to permit them to function in a good manner. So that is how important it is. You have someone from the same party to take up the files from that party to Parliament and to work on them.
So you're saying it's very important because if there's another party, then they might not carry out the wishes of the governing party right now, Samara?
Well, we've seen it in the past where the actual deputy, because he's still deputy until the end of June, where he was in the opposition of the party in power until 2017, and he was not able to work along with them. So he mostly defends some files, from St. Bart's, because he had the support also at that time from the president of St. Bart's. In order to have the French side advance, it is important that you have the president, the deputy, and the senator all from the same parties, like that you're talking the same language, and then you can go along and work on the file. You would have much more interest on defending the file because it comes from your party.
All right, so when you look at the situation now in St. Martin, it's very unique because you hear so many people speak about Article 74. You just mentioned that, and some people are saying that it's bad for St. Martin, it's not good for St. Martin. How does Team Gibbes feel about it?
I would start by answering, and then I would leave Frank take over from there. I think it is something positive for the French side. The only thing is that we were not able to have, as I mentioned earlier, to have all the ingredients together to make it function. You always have, for example, the deputy in the opposition when you have government, that is sitting. And in order, you really need to have everyone together working with on the same program, the same ideas to advance and to make it better for St. Martin. The people of St. Martin on the French side, they sent a clear message on the last election by electing the president and his team with a very large majority. Today, it would be important, to continue on that way, because you can't have the government in place and then have an opposition to the government that is in place. But I'll leave Frank take over from there and give much more explanation.
Well, to add to that, what is real necessary and clear is that recently both collectivities were renewed. Each of them and St. Bart's were elected on first term, one way, and locally in St. Martin, the team Gibbes was elected on second term, but with a large majority, 64% beyond. Both of these teams were elected with a program. They tell the population, give us your confidence, we are going to achieve, we are going to realize a certain amount of things. We're going to make things happen. The setting of Article 74 gives a certain amount of powers. And unfortunately, at the turnover of these powers, when we had a change of status, all was not put into place, and particularly the evaluation of the transfer of competences financially were not really and sincerely done in a right way. And St. Martin have been led back, particularly with a certain amount of setbacks, which gives them today the obligation to go and fight in Parliament, France, to be able to get the necessary competence and the backup of these competences. So that is why it's very, very important that these two collectivities have someone of their party, someone of their conviction, someone of their side to go on and carry the message. Because it's also very important to know that to get this message in France, when you are a deputy, you have 13 candidates in the case of St. Martin, St. Bart's. When you are elected deputy, you're going to sit in a crowd of 577 members. If you're not part of a party, if you're not able to group up a minimum of people to create a parliamentary group, then you would have no kind of weight nor access to neither discuss, change, or modify anything. Then you'd be serving nothing. Whereas our candidate today, backed by both St. Martin and St. Bart's, is part of the outgoing majority, which is LR, the Republicans, and they're hoping to have a decent majority. What is very important to know is that the big party that's going to win the majority seats in the outgoing election is those who are going to have the privilege of putting into place the prime minister and the creation of the government. So you see, you have a double action system. And that's why we're fighting so that our party gets the majority. If you don't get the majority, then you would have a minimum possible that allows you to be part of the government. For instance, the presidential election that just went on, the amount of members that we got and the popularity we had allowed us to let the actual president take a member of our party as prime minister. And if it is confirmed in the future, then we will continue doing so. So there is where it's important being part of a group.
The election is going to be on Saturday, right?
Yes, the election is going to be, the first turn will be on Saturday, the 10th of June, and the second turn will be on the 17th.
Now, I'm sure that you're hoping for Saturday and nothing after that.
That would be the best, but with the amount of candidates that we have 13 candidates. I really don't see how it can be a one-shot.
Yeah.
I don't know what Mr. Viotty thinks, but
Well, I'll precise. We always fight for a one shot. You go at it, you aim the best, but regardless of what, we are ready and prepared to fight one shot or the two ways, like we did last time. And if we do go second, we're coming out winners. We're making sure that all our team that was behind us in the last election for the collectivity are behind us. And also, we especially explaining to people why it's important. Because both collectivities were elected with a majority on a program. And the program to be carried out effectively needs the backing. You need someone to take the message to Paris. You need someone that our President Gibbes could rely upon. I'll give you one of the examples that we're fighting on. It's, for instance, we're fighting in the educational field on having a vice-rectorat, which means it's a higher body than ever exists in St. Martin. And in order to get that, you need someone to take the files, defend them, back them, and have them validated.
So that's important. But what surprised me, 13 candidates, a lot.
Yeah.
Well, everyone feels and believes that they could fit that situation easily. 13 candidates, yes, it's a lot, and there are a certain amount of constraint to it. Because in spite of the number, you have to have a national backing, be it your conviction, you need what we call in French a parrainage, and you also have to be able to accumulate a certain amount of percentage of votes to be able to go to a second round if there's a second round. For instance, today, you need to make 12.5% of the potential voters between St. Martin and St. Bart's. In St. Martin, we have about 22,000 inscribed, and St. Bart's, you have about 6,000. So you have in all about 28,000 inscribed. So to be able to qualify legally for a second round, you need to qualify with at least 3,500 votes.
Wow.
And it's important.
Well, I'm sure you all get that because...
with the last election, he did fine, but you know, it's not the same type of election, and this election, you know, is the people come out not en masse to vote. So our role, you know, was to motivate them, explain them what is the importance of going out and voting on the 10th. So
now, you have a lot of people that can vote on this side of the island. Many years ago, my father used to vote on both sides. He used to go and vote for Dr. Petty and go away, vote for Claude, you know. And a lot of people are still doing it today. Yeah. So here's the opportunity tonight to encourage the people from the Dutch side and those that are watching online to come out on Saturday, right?
Well, as party spokesman, I'll confirm to you that, of course, we know this, we live it, and we try our best to inform people both sides of the island, because there are elements that concern everyone, and the choice of those that are able to vote is important. So we look for the support from everybody, wherever you are. Once you register a French voter, make sure come out and vote. It's on Saturday, do your duty, because there are a certain amount of things that touch everyone. And I'll give, for instance, the RSA, which is a social grant that's actually given on the French side. And it's a huge issue today between the French government and the local government.
What is that?
It's a social grant. If you're unemployed and you're not qualified for unemployment fees, then it's a social grant, a minimum wage, or not a wage, but a minimum survival grant.
That is allocated to the person.
Oh, okay.
And that is very important that we get that clarified, because let's not forget, St. Martin and St. Bart's are very special within the setting of government. And the whole of France is France that controls all the fiscal and taxes system. And in the case of St. Martin and St. Bart's, within the setting of Article 74, it was given to us that kind of power. But the RSA, which I'm speaking about, is a social grant, but it's paid fiscally. So it's the government of France who decide who's going to beneficiate in the conditions, but it's the local taxpayers that are paying it.
Really?
And that's a real...
It represents a great amount of the budget from the collectivity.
And then, but at the same time, it's the French government that dictates...
Yeah, that in stores,
Yeah, that's
and it's paid by the local government. So
that's kind of strange, eh?
It's strange, and that's one of the main reasons why the local government today is suffering huge financial problems because of the unbalanced situation. It's not fair because France determines who's going to beneficiate, but they're not compensating in the right way.
But then let me ask you, what is that similar to CAF or that's different?
It's okay. It's paid by the CAF. That's what they qualify as CAF.
It is different from the CAF because you have the allocation that you get from the CAF according to the amount of children that you have.
Okay.
And this is allocated only if you're not working and things. So it's two different. It's paid by the same entity, but it's two different things.
So then, if you unemployed, does the government look at your last salary and give you a percentage of that, or it's just a flat fee for unemployed people?
It's a flat fee for unemployed people according to your family.
Oh, okay.
So let's say someone that is just one person that is single, won't get the same amount of the person maybe that is single but have 2 children or something like that. So you qualify to it because you also have to be inscribed at
unemployment.
You have to be inscribed. There are certain conditions in order to get it, but many of the people, they think to the conditions, so they just receive it. But it's a big.
So now, Ms. Javois, the main issue that you all have for this is that you have to pay it, but you don't have any control because the French government determines how it's going to be paid?
They determine the criteria.
The criteria, okay.
The criteria of, what are the conditions that you have to fulfill in order to receive it.
And then you have to execute.
And then then the collectivity have to execute accordingly.
And for you all, that's not the right way, you feel?
Because the government normally in France should contribute more than they are contributing.
Okay.
So then that is a file that have to be well prepared in order, to see if to be defended and to get the funds that normally should come back to the collectivity.
So it's a financial burden on the collectivity?
In 2 words, it is national competence to do this. They define it, and they tell us, we define it, you pay, and we reimburse. The big problem, and here's where the hectic part is in this case, is that when we were transferred in Article 74 setting in 2007, there were 1,400 beneficiaries of that grant existing in St. Martin. And you could explain it because 2 reasons.
How many? 1,000?
400 people beneficiating. And it was explainable for 2 reasons. The first reason is that St. Martin people did not like begging for social grants. They felt that they prefer rely on a family rather than going for this. The second reason was that at that time, those files were instructed in Guadeloupe. And St. Martin people didn't go to Guadeloupe or didn't like doing the paperwork to do it. Now situation have evaluated, the population have changed and grown. So today we have over 5,000 people beneficiating of the same grant, but the state is not compensating for these 5,000. So there is why you have a battle to fight between our collectivity and the state to get them to understand that, okay, wonderful, you define that we do it, you ask us to manage it for you, but you're not compensating what you're telling us to spend on your behalf, so let's readjust it. And that could be done, but with a very, very important parliamentary discussion, backed by the collectivities and transmitted by the deputy.
So that's where you come in. So, and that's going to be quite an uphill battle because Now I understand what's happening because you can see how it has increased from 1,400 to over 5,000. That
it's going to be a tough battle, but as I said, once the file, you know, is constituted the way it should be, and then you have all the remarks, and then you can go ahead and make sure that you defend it in the right manner.
Okay.
So you need.
You said a word, you said it's an uphill battle, and in reality it's an uphill battle, and that explains you why it's important that the person we are going to elect has to have the backing of the president of the collectivity of St. Martin, the backing of the collectivity of St. Bart's, and also being part of a big party in parliament. Because when you bring those kind of elements in front of discussion, it ends up with a vote. If you want to put a motion on a board, you have to have a certain amount of people backing you. If you're by yourself, no one hears you. If you're in a party, then the party decides your motion. And if your motion is acceptable, then you get it elected, you get it voted. So that is why it's very, very important that the candidate or the person we elect is really protected and backed.
So now, Javois, you go to Paris, you'll be your party, which is Team Gibbes, is with party in France now?
Les Républicains.
Okay.
Yeah.
The right wing.
Right.
And that's the party of, the leader of that party name is?
For the moment is Monsieur Barouin.
Okay.
Barouin.
Now, the whole thing, you know, it's, when you look at St. Martin and you're out there campaigning, what are people saying to you, what they want? Because I remember last year, I heard about the issue of domain land. Is that an issue that might be handled in Parliament or not?
No, that is an issue that would be handled directly here in the territory. It is of the competencies of the president of the collectivity and his team.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'll give you, if you dare allow me, issue that could be handled and should be handled in Parliament. It's one that was promised when we were discussing for the transfer of competences, is the issue about the prison. The French side of St. Martin does not have a prison. Nevertheless, hundreds of our local St. Martiners who have to go to prison have to be sent to Guadeloupe. Now, that does not mean that we don't have to do prevention and we don't have to do whatever it takes to keep you out of prison. But once your mistake is made or once you're condemned, you're supposed to go to prison. And we feel that it is necessary that those that are condemned to go to prison should be able to carry out their sanction in St. Martin.
Not go to Guadeloupe.
Not go to Guadeloupe, for various reasons. Having a prison brings economy to St. Martin. One, you have to build it, so you have the construction and whatsoever. Two, you have to run it. And here you create jobs because every enclosed inmate goes with 4 people around him. So you see the amount of jobs you could eventually create. But not only that, you also have the economical part and the social part. The economical part is that the fact that each St. Martiner in prison in Guadeloupe does not have the possibility of his family coming to visit him, because going to Guadeloupe to see someone, you have to buy a plane ticket, you have to go to the hotel and so on. It's expensive. Everyone cannot afford it. The social part is that your social family link is broken. So you don't see the family. You're in Guadeloupe. When you come down here, you don't know anyone anymore, and that's bad. The other and ultimate thing, but it is very important, is that having a prison, you could prepare these people while being in prison so that when they come out, they could have a job, they could have a reinsertion, and so on. So we feel it's one of our major uphill battles we have to fight, but it's important because one, it was promised with a transfer of Article 74. 2, it's a desire of both of the collectivities. And 3, our deputy will take it at heart to take this subject to Paris.
What surprised me here is that every time I'm on the plane to Guadeloupe or Martinique, I will see 2 or 3 gendarmes with a youngster in the back of the plane. This is sometimes 2 or 3, 4 times a year, every time. And just recently I was in Martinique for a family funeral, and again I saw it again. And it's like, it's so strange because you have all these youngsters from St. Martin almost every morning being taken to Guadeloupe. Now I understand they're trying to limit that with a special program on French Saint Martin. Is that true? Where they're giving them more house arrest and they're not so quick to now send them to Guadeloupe?
Well, I'll explain the situation quick, because the system is that today in Guadeloupe, almost 30% of the inmates are from Saint Martin.
Wow.
The prisons are outloaded and overfull, overcrowded, and the justice, in order to be able to have things under control, prefer then giving house arrest or avoid having to put them in. So there we having a problem that you take them up there and then they come back down, and then the people are not satisfied because the person that you troubled or you molested is seeing you next day or a few days after. So if we have prison capacities, enough place to put them in, we could deal with them better, economically, socially, and reinsertionally speaking.
And you said that was one of the conditions of Article 74?
Yeah, it was one of the elements promised within the transfer of competences.
And yeah, Ms. Young.
No, it was promised and then just left aside, you know. That was no longer a priority for the government in France. So that's why we are looking towards to bringing back the file, putting it on the table and making sure, you know, that we do get it for the reasons that Frank mentioned.
But then I know some of your opponents are saying that you all want to lock up Saint Martin people, and it's kind of silly in a way. I can see the reason why a prison is important. There's a prison on the dot side. Every civilized society has a prison. So why can't French Saint Martin have a prison?
Well, you don't put people in prison because you feel like putting them. Those that go to prison, irregardless of what, will go to prison, whether we have a prison locally or not. We're saying if they did something that justifies the fact that they have to go to prison, we prefer have them at us.
And they have home with their family too.
With their family.
And then the family can visit them.
Yeah.
And I think it bounds, you know, it make it very closer.
Yeah.
And then the fact that the family are visiting, then the person that is in jail will say, okay, you know, they have time to think about, you know, what was done, etc., and say, okay, I'm seeing my mother, my father, my brothers or sisters, and they are touched by what I've done. So let me see, you know, how I can come out of that. But once they are in Guadeloupe and they are seeing no one, so it is easy for them to, you know, get corrupted by the other people that are detained.
They come back home more angry, right? Yeah. But any other issues that people are concerned about? I know that the jobless rate is very high because you mentioned unemployment, what they're paying, but I saw some figures last year of unemployment in French Saint Martin, and I was really shocked.
So there you have what I would say the RSMA. It's a way of having the youngsters go to the camp and having them train. You know, they can have their license. They can also learn a job, and then they would be able to come back and then to maybe open their own businesses. I know, Frank, you have...
Well, the RSMA, she didn't specialize. Yeah, it's Army vocational training system. You bring in the youngsters and they get a double training. One, it's on the military path. Get up, shake up, be on time, have respect. That's one path. The other path is they teach you a job. It's something that have worked within the French system for the last 40 years now. And it was an exception. And it's mostly the overseas departments that beneficiated of it. Today it says put highlight within the state of France as something very important because it's a necessity. And today, seeing the economic development part of Saint Martin, we realize that unemployment is linked to qualification. And this is a way to get people into a system with a double action system. You have the discipline,
Yeah.
Acknowledging authority plus the training. And what is very, very important is that this vocational training with the Army, RSMA, is known to 90% of the people that they trained are right away employed behind it, because the added value just by the label RSMA is so high that the people find jobs very easily.
So that's important.
Very important.
It is important.
And that was also promised when we had the transfer of competences. You see, there is where it's important that people realize the weight of your deputy. Because when things are promised, then it's shared up within the government and the deputies and so on. And it's the deputy that weighs the most, that has his voice heard the best, that is in the biggest party, that gets the things. If you just sit back and you don't have any, you're not in a good party or you're not followed, then you get the leftovers, you get the crumbs. And there's why it's important for us to have clear in this position tomorrow.
And then in order to get, to get what you really want for your territories, then you have to do a lot of lobbying. And as Frank said, it is important to be part of a group and have them also lobby with you and make sure, that you get what you're asking for.
So in effect, you're the best person to go to France because of your party that's already in government in St. Martin.
Because of the party
right.
that are already in government in St. Martin, in St. Bart's, and also because of the party that endorsed me in France, because they represent a big party in France, which is the Republicans.
Mr. Viotty, who is the Team Gibbes spokesman, and Javois, who is the candidate for deputy in the election that is scheduled for this Saturday, the 10th of June, right?
Yes, it is.
So what else you want us to know about you, Ms. Javois? What have been your accomplishments so far?
Well, I left this island at the age of 18 to go further my studies in Martinique. And I came back here in 1986. And I had my daughter that was 3 years old when I came back. I realized that on the territory of St. Martin, there was no mutuelle, how you call it, and I don't know.
It's back up to Social Security grants.
Oh.
Yes, and it did not exist on the island. So whereas I had it in Martinique for my daughter, and it was important for me, to have that come in on the territory. So I went to Guadeloupe. And then I tried to find one of the mutuelle that would like to come to the island to install themselves and work with the people in St. Martin, and it was very, very difficult. I could have said, I'm going to look for one for my family.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that. I tried to get it. I tried to speak about it, among the people and tell them how important it was to have it, because you would pay, the Social Security would reimburse you a certain amount, and then this other entity will complete the reimbursement, of what you've been through. So I was able to bring back one from Guadeloupe on the island of St. Martin, and that was the first one to be installed in St. Martin and still existing at the day of today.
Yeah, how many years is that now?
Pardon me?
How many years ago now?
Oh, that is 31 years.
Wow.
It was in 1986 when I came back. So,
okay.
And another thing, I was part of a union on the French side. The reason why I decided to take part of a union, because the hotel where I worked at the time hired people came from France to work in the hotel. And it was very few of us from St. Martin working there. So I decided, I need to defend and make sure that the people of St. Martin take parts of what's happening. And then, okay, little by little, you know, we had people working in the hotel from the island. And then the hotel was up for sale. And I wanted to make sure, because you see a lot of hotels are up for sale and then they close down. So I wanted to make sure that it remains as a hotel. And at that time, we were negotiating, and I insisted that to be part of that board. The commission, how to say that? And the commission, they said, okay, we would receive 70% of our salary paid by the ACIDIC, and then the hotel would meet with the other 20%. So we were receiving 90% of the salary. So sounds fine, everybody agreed and what's not. So when we come to sign the agreement, I said, I have a problem with the agreement because we are saying that the hotel is going to stay closed for a year. And we do not know, you know, what can be the circumstances. And I think it's very important that we add a sentence stating that no matter how long the hotel stay closed, that we would receive our salaries.
That was interesting.
And, you know, that took a month of discussion. And after a month, it was finally signed. The hotel was closed. And after a year, nothing was touched. So at that time, the management said, okay, now we need to sit down and negotiate and see how we are going to go about the fact that we are not being able to reopen. And I don't think we would be able to keep you all and pay the salaries, because it's going to be extra for us. And we were able to keep our jobs because of that sentence that was added. At that moment, I said, no, we've signed an agreement stating that no matter how long the hotel stay closed, that we would have our salaries. So
did the hotel ever open?
The hotel reopened. We are still working in it. It was sold again. I took place in the commission for that sale again, and we are now still up and functioning. So that is to show you how much, you know, it is important. When I do something, I make sure I go to the extreme, that when it's done, we do not have to say, yes, but if I had do so, you know, it would have been better. And at that moment, the employees did not understand why I was insisting just to have that sentence added. Yeah. So that is how much I'm implicated in what I'm doing.
And that was in French?
Pardon me?
The document was in French?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, that's also important, because you want someone in France that really could understand and read the document.
Because the law, when you read what the law says, it was saying so. But it was not clearly stating that they was obliged to take us on at the end. So that's why, you know, I said, you know, you never know. Let's just add that sentence. And because the HR at the time was saying, but I don't see where's the problem, because it's stated in the law, so you would have your jobs. And when they called us to say, okay, we would have to stay closed for extra year, and we do not know how many of you we're going to keep, etc. You know, she came back to me, she said, well, you know, at the time I was asking, why was you insisting? But today I see how important it was, because if having it not been for that sentence, maybe the hotel would have closed and never reopened.
So the leaders like you with vision too.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Gibbes, that is exactly pinpointed the role that this deputy would have to play. Because when you're in Parliament, you're writing laws, you're having laws modified, and you have to be very, very vigilant to make sure that whatsoever is written, French is very delicate to deal with. And if you make sure that whatever you want is into it, then you won't be left out. But if a law is passed and you don't have added what is necessary for our area, then you'll be left out. I'll give you, for instance, when you pass a general law in France, you generally see that this law is applicable to the commune, department, and regions of France. But we have a special status within France, so it does not apply to us. They have to also add and overseas territories or collectivities administrated under Article 74 or so on. So that is why it is very, very important that you be there all the time and you understand and monitor the French at the best. Okay. Another element is very important, that nothing would ever go down in the law by a deputy if the collectivity's president of Saint Martin and Saint Bas give their blessing to it. So no one man over there tell you, vote for me, even though the president don't back me, will be able to do anything on their own. They need the blessings of the collectivities.
You know, when you look at what's happening in Saint Martin today, it's quite unique. Saint Martin's a beautiful island. People come from all over. I see Air France is flying in here every day. My concern when I go to Marigot is like, I wonder if our people will ever really be able to find the kind of jobs they need, because there's so much competition. They're up against Caribbean people, they're up against Europeans. Is that an issue on the campaign, or people are not saying much about it? Who's going to touch it?
It is an issue, and you have to consider it, because when you consider Saint Martin and Saint Barts, you have to look at them in their context. They belong to France, but they also belong to Europe. And within Europe, Saint Martin is considered as a PTOM, whereas Saint Martin is integral part of Europe. So you have a contradiction there. Then you have an open border between French Saint Martin and Dutch Saint Martin, or integral part of Europe, or PTOM. Saint Martin could solve its problem using the normal legislation when speaking about immigration. You cooperate with the Dutch side, you monitor your incoming. The problem today is the unemployment. And the unemployment is at a high rate for two reasons. One, our economical development today is at the lowest. Mm-hmm. The collectivity does not have the financial means necessary to instill a new growth in investment. So we have to work on that. It's very important. Then we have to make sure that when we create these jobs, the people and the public that we want these jobs be designated to have the qualification necessary. So there you have to work on the education plus the training and the qualifications. So all of this have to be monitored. But to be done in the right way, you have to have the state of France following you. You have to have your local government with the cash flow necessary. So all of these elements have to be combined, and could only be possible if our local government gets its voice heard in France, and that is being transmitted through our deputy.
That's why it's important.
Very important.
You know, when you look at the island, it has changed a lot. What's the population now on French Saint Martin? The rest of the population, is it
close to 40,000 people?
Close to 40,000? Okay.
Yes.
And any estimate of what the undocumented population is? It's not as high, right?
No idea from
No, there again, you're touching one of our big fights we have with the French government. We were promised to have statistic elements put into place to be able to control not only the population, the evaluations, but also the economic growth, the downfalls, the financial and fiscal system. We need a permanent statistic evaluation system into Saint Martin. And that was promised again, but not fulfilled. So there's a fight we have to put into place.
Oh. But now when you look at it, the people local, you know, local Saint Martiners make up what, in terms of when they go out to vote, do they go out to vote in big numbers, or they're not, or you get more Europeans or people who are naturalized French going out to vote?
Well, I'll answer that question.
I would say it's mixed. You have you have a good bit of St. Martiners that go out to vote, and the others, okay, those that have papers, I would say, they also, because they are interested, they are part of what is taking place on the island, so they feel concerned, and they also go out to vote. Whereas that is my opinion, it's only me. The Europeans, they do go out to vote, but they are more concerned by the elections, you know, for the Republic and things like that. So I don't know, what is your...
It is definitely known that local election mobilizes more than a presidential election or legislative election. Nevertheless, there's a new element in the analysis of the votes, is that we have, and it was proven in last elections, that extremist votes are being more and more numbered. People that are becoming populist, or people that are defending extremist parties that is racial and so on. And we have to fight that, because it's an expression of a problem that's growing in our society, and we have to make sure that we bring the answers to that.
No, we don't have that much time remaining, so I'm only going to give you, Ms. Viotty, 15 seconds, and the rest is for...
Well, the 15 seconds would be to tell the population of St. Martin that we elected Team Gibbes as party leader and give them the power. We need to give them the means to have their message carried out to France. And we're hoping that on June 10th, they come out massively and back Team Gibbes and Claire Javois.
All right, and you have 30 seconds.
So I was endorsed by the president of the collectivity of St. Martin, and also the president of the collectivity of St. Bart's, the Republican Party also. If they put their entire confidence in me, you, the people of St. Martin, should go out on the 10th of June and vote massively for Claire and Micheline Jacques. It is important to cast your vote. It is important to say what you want for St. Martin. And by doing so, you're going to show that you love your island, and you would like for the team that you've elected, which is Team Gibbes and also the team of the President McGrath, that you would like for them to continue the program that they have proposed to you last March. So go out on the 10th and vote massively for Claire Javois and Micheline Jacques.
Well, I want to thank you. I wish you much success.
Thank you.
And also, that's it for now. And see you next time. Till then, can I take care? Bye.